I'm glad Matt went before me because I had a bunch of stuff on comparative advantage and all that nonsense. All right, so I guess the biggest argument is immigrants come here and they take our jobs and they leave people unemployed through wages that are, I guess, lower than the average American worker. But that's not really true because there's a different skill set there. Immigrants come here and most of them don't even speak English, so they're not going to get even a lower class, lower skilled work. So they would basically be employed as like a chef of a restaurant, a landscaper, things that don't require communication with other people, where the American worker will get a job in production and service industry and things like that. So there's not really, the immigrant isn't really taking American jobs from that perspective. It allows them to move up the ladder, because if they were to learn English, they can increase their own productive capital and the money they have in their pocket to get turned around back into the economy. So they're saying that their lower skills don't equate to anything is not really, because eventually they're going to come up the ladder. They're not depressing nominal wages because they're competing, and they're not even the same class as the worker.
But Nick, if we take just traditional supply and demand curves, if we bring in, let's say, 5 million workers, wouldn't the supply curve?
Well, workers for what? I mean, what are they going to be doing?
But then that's true.
They're not going to be like software engineers. You know, they're coming and like the software engineer market.
That's not exactly the case, okay? The immigration population that goes through the southern border is not even now primarily Mexican. If you go out into the wastes of Texas and Arizona, the immigration services have a post, and on it they have if you're like stuck in the desert and you need water, you can ring in. It's in 3 languages. What are those languages? English, Spanish, and Chinese. Okay, now if you're a Chinese person and you're crossing the border, you're not going in there to pick grapes. You're crossing the border because you spend a considerable amount of money, which you've saved up in China, to get a much more lucrative job than that. So you are competing with a middle-class job.
There's actually
and middle-class
they have firms
workers
that will sponsor you into. They'll actually pay your way to get into the United States to hire you. Yes, but as
an argument.
Like Lima said, there's not a ton of those type of people. Most of the people coming here, the 12 million illegal immigrants that are coming here, are from Mexico. They don't speak English. They have very low skills. So you're not competing on the same playing field.
Actually, they are. They're actually in my field, and my friend was working at a barber shop, was fired because he couldn't speak Spanish. And that's false. He actually was fired, paying him under the table, less than him, and he fired him.
You have to ask yourself,
guys,
why?
I just wanted to clarify. I guess maybe we kind of clarify this to you guys, but maybe we should clarify whether you're talking about people who have actually gone through the channels and gotten approved versus people who have violated immigration law.
Are we talking about legal guns or illegal guns?
Yeah.
Guns?
We're talking about people who are legal or people who are violated.
Well, what's the difference at the end of the day?
Well, because it's very difficult to obtain legal status here,
which is a protectionist market, right?
Right. And I'm just saying that there's a difference between people who come here legally, because they're usually very, very wealthy in their home country. They're very, very successful, wealthy. They create a lot of jobs when they come here. Versus people who come here who in some form or another, versus either crossing the border or overstaying their visas, A lot of times...
The legal ones
If
are
you've
stealing
crossed
jobs.
the desert.
The legal ones aren't. The legal ones are coming here to work.
Well, the legal ones are usually creating jobs here.
If you've come from China and you've spent $20,000 or $40,000 and you're not legal, that's the only reason why you would cross the desert in the first place. Okay, you're an illegal worker, but you're not competing with landscapers. You're competing with computer programmers. And there is a reason why American industry, the reason why we are even having a political discussion about it is because there's an important element in the Republican Party and its industry who thinks they will save money and be able to pay workers less. Otherwise, they wouldn't be supporting that.
But I mean, in a sense, even if they are, I'm sorry.
Brad?
Before we get into a open floor discussion, can we give Nick?
I really don't have much else. You know what? I'm going to touch on terrorism real quick because Matt said a lot of the things that I'm going to talk about, illegal immigration, just in the whole production market, but I was just going to address it in labor and wages and things like that. So I'm going to get into terrorism real quick, and then we'll have like an open forum on all that stuff. I can actually do healthcare too, but because a lot of people, I mean, restricted borders, people, it's going to have a lot of crime, it's going to run a lot of crime and terrorism, but actually 221 border crossings since 9/11, we can actually link to potential terrorism or actual terrorist activities comparative to the population as a whole. So that's illegal immigrants, people that are here, immigrants that are here legally, and the population itself of 320 million people. So I mean that's a pretty low risk when you're looking down. We're gonna close up the borders. We're gonna restrict trade, regulate immigration based on the potential of terrorist activity. So it's not really a good idea to invest all that money into closing the border when it's so incredibly low. Coyotes, which actually they get paid to smuggle people over the border. So their job is basically the people from Mexico, the immigrants from Mexico, pay these people $2,000, sometimes less, sometimes more. They give them the things they need to cross over the border to get here. So it's essentially a service they're providing, and they're not going to say, if you're, they're not going to not take your money for it. And we're like, oh wait, there's too many people in the United States, so I'm not going to take your money. I'm not going to help you get across the border. So we can apply that to terrorists too, from the Middle East or wherever, Afghanistan, what have you. The most they're going to say is, okay, well, you're from Afghanistan, you got here, so I'm going to charge you $6,000 because your risk level is that much more. They're still not going to say, sorry, you're a potential terrorist, so I'm not going to help you get over the border. So any terrorists from other parts of the world that could get over the border are essentially already here. They're going to be financed and get here through the coyotes or through other methods to get here. So saying that what? No, you're making a joke. So saying they're gonna come here to if we don't have some sort of more regulated borders, the terrorists are gonna come here and they're gonna bomb us is not really true, because they haven't bombed us and they're essentially here now. So if that's the case, but we know there's not a lot.
There's a pretty clear correlation to illegal immigrants have a lower crime rate on average than the general population by quite a considerable amount, and the areas with lots of illegal immigrants in Southern California, if you look at the comparable non-illegal immigrant crime rates, they're much higher than the non-illegal immigrant.
Are you saying that illegal immigrants commit fewer crimes to legal immigrants or to natives?
Yeah, legal immigrants or Americans.
Because something like 40% of the prison population in California are non-natives.
Well, a lot of that's
It's Cato that did the study. I mean, it's not like this is Pink Progress or something. You can look it up. Yeah, Cato did a study and tried to...
and Progress?
Yeah.
Diametrically opposed ideas. And I would just throw into the discussion, border security is a false flag. You can never have border security because there are hundreds of ranchers, etc., in Texas, Arizona, etc., that need access, grazing access to the Rio Grande for their cattle, etc. What you really need to talk about is operational control of the 75 miles between our southern border and 75 miles north. What people don't realize is that the drug cartels and the coyotes actually have more permanent observation structures on our border than our border patrol does.
Well, why do you suppose that is?
Because the government wants illegals to be able to freely come into the country.
Not really. It's really because you have made those markets illegal. Drug markets, immigration markets. You said that you can't, because you live here, you're coming here, so therefore if you come here, you're illegal. Same with drugs. You know, drugs are illegal, so you can't have drugs, so we're going to create a black market for it, and there's no way to control, there's no way to regulate that market when you essentially have made those two things, those two major things, illegal. It's what contributes to the violence at the border, and the reason why we have to patrol the border. We have to create these walls and these fences and these systems that cost massive amounts of money because we make the markets illegal. It's not because government says we're going to do this or we're going to do that.
No, listen, I'm a firm believer is, you know, let's fix our immigration system, and I think part of it is, I mean, we do allow 1 million people into this country, well actually 2 million legally into the country. We're not really that broken. What's broken is that some people only have to wait 6 months and some people have to wait 24 years. And I think we should invest.
No, but you neither had to wait, you know, very long at all.
Exactly. So, invest the money to eliminate the backlog, and then you're taking our current people who are here illegally, and then you can give them a path to citizenship. As a conservative, as a Republican, I'm probably alone in saying, I mean, look at post-Reconstruction. Blacks voted Republican for 100 years. Why? Because blacks looked at Republicans as the people who ended slavery.